Get a $10 Office Max gift card when you buy $40 of national branded ink. Office Max. Work with us. Valid May 2nd through May 29th. Offer excludes Office Max private branded ink. Offer valid in-store only. See store for details.
Everybody's talking at me.
The original Talkback with yours truly, Chuck Wilder. Want to go to my guest, Jerome Corsi. He received a Ph.D. Harvard University, political science back in 1972. He is the author of the #1 New York Times best-selling book, The Obama Nation, Leftist Politics and the Cult of Personality, co-author of Unfit for Command, Swift Boat Veterans Speak Out Against John Kerry, also author of the bestseller America for Sale and The Late Great USA, and his latest, Why Israel Can't Wait. He is also the editor of Red Alert newsletter. Jerry, how are you? Dr. Jerry Corsi.
I'm great, Chuck. Good to be back with you.
You know, I love having you, sir, and boy, you know, I was going to talk to you about the Social Security and the BP explosion, and up and out of it, out of the chute this morning comes a call to indict the world's top global warming guy. Let's get into that one. Boy, somebody's finally saying, you know what, enough is enough, and we're even talking about fraud here.
Well, I was at the conference, an international conference, the Heartland Conference, on climate change. I'm in Chicago, and Lord Monckton, former science advisor to Margaret Thatcher, spoke, keynote speaker, and I really picked up on it. He said that basically the Intergovernmental Policy Committee on Climate Change for the UN was engaging in fraudulent science, and when he had done research, he showed that the head, Pakari, the Indian, who heads the IPCC for the UN, had fraudulent financial statements. He found a charity that Pakari operates that did not report a 30,000-pound grant that had been given by the British government, and he's saying that Pakari ought to be investigated and charged with a criminal fraud for negligent reporting, neglecting to report this contribution from the British government. And I went up afterwards. His speech was humorous. I went up afterwards. I said, Lord Monckton, I'm going to report that you're calling for the IPCC to be abolished and Bakari to be indicted in criminal fraud. He said, that's exactly what I said. So that's the report on WorldNet Daily. I think it's pretty startling.
The headlines. And in fact, you know, when you put things like non-profit, you know, that's what they're supposed to be, and you say to a round of applause, Monckton announced to the conference that within 2 days of his charges, TERI Europe, the European branch of Tata Energy Research Institute, acknowledged it had filed false accounts and the accounts would be corrected. And after his speech, you asked him to confirm that he was seriously calling for IPCC to be abolished and for its chief scientist, Rajinder, whatever it is, Pachari, to be prosecuted for criminal fraud. And then they also want a correction on the hockey stick. Tell them about that.
Well, this is Michael Mann, the climatologist from Penn State, who has this graph that was the key graph in behind Al Gore's anthropogenic global warming, the idea that human beings cause global warming, because this stick looked like all the temperatures going back hundreds and hundreds of years were stable until human beings came on the scene. Then the temperatures spiked up. And it was a fraud because Michael Mann had changed and buried data. He didn't accurately report a very warming period in the Middle Ages or an ice age that occurred around the time George Washington was alive. And the data was fraudulent. And, you know, through this conference, many presentations pointed this out. Lord Monckton pointed it out again. And I videotaped Lord Monckton's presentation, and we embedded the videotape from YouTube. I placed it on YouTube, and it's also in the WorldNet Daily article. So you can see Monckton making these charges himself.
So if the listener goes to worldnetdaily.com, you've got the link right there, and I'm telling you, it's the head story. It's still right at the top of the site, right? It's
right, the Skyline headline right at the top of the page, and the video that I shot yesterday at the conference while Mongden was speaking is right embedded in the WorldNet Daily article. You can click it and watch it right there.
I got to tell you, Jerry, there's so much money involved whenever they start talking about selling these carbon credits and stuff like that. We're coming up on a break, and we'll continue in just a moment. But you reported that British steelmaker Corsi Redcar says that he's owned by the TATA Group, has gained hundreds of millions of dollars in windfall profits from cashing in on EU carbon credits and moving to India, where the company expects to cash in on United Nations carbon credits. Greed, greed, greed. We're going to continue in just a moment with Dr. Jerry Corsi, WorldNet Daily, Red Alert News. We'll be right back.
Help